Welcome back, everyone. Today we got the Echo CS4920. This is that new clamshell. Made a video about it a little while back, and everybody was kind of curious to see what it would do. Myself, also curious, can't ever leave them alone. So we'll go in, we'll do a teardown, give this one our normal treatment, and see what kind of power we can make out of it. I'll show you once we get there, but I have already swapped this over to our 3/8 full-size rim setup. Alright, so I got the clutch loose. Take that off, get it out of the way. And you can see a rim setup. Small spline rim. Oiler worm. Bigger body, same bores like the 4910 carb. That's kind of disappointing. Hoping for a bigger one, but that's what we got. Looks like we can take this top cover off now. Let's get that out of the way. Okay, we'll get this handlebar right out of the way. See if these screws, yep, they're all the right, same length, so that makes it handy. Extra one there, huh? Okay. That is one of the problems with the clamshell normally. Normally you have to remove extra parts and pieces off. Alright, let's pull this muffler off, see what we're working with here. Any bets? Is it an empty can or has it got a bunch of stuff in it? It's pretty handy. Alright, looks like it's just an empty can muffler. You can kind of see the hole right there. So that'll make it nice for modifying the muffler. So I'm thinking we could put a nice large outlet right there on the side. But we got an open muffler. Pull off the recoil. But this is a different coil design than most. So we'll see what they got working with. We got bolt-on transfer caps. A little bit different there. I'll pull this plug out. We'll throw our degree wheel on it. We'll see where the ports are current. Get our handy dandy degree wheel mounted up. So half of 148, 74. Come back to the top. 74. This does have a funky exhaust port. Looks like it has a decompression cutout, a rather large one. Kind of a staggered port. It's interesting. That decompression's at 104 the main point of the port is at 113, kind of a split duration. That's actually pretty interesting. Okay, it looks like a pair of transfers. Top part, the actual cylinder part's pretty much flat. So we'll call it there, 120. But there is some goofiness going on, kind of a staggered filler piece with those transfer caps. Alright, so this is kind of interesting, and we're going to figure out if it works well or not. If it does work well, these appear like they're going to be super easy for people to port, because it's going to be just squaring up the ports. We square up these ports, we're basically 104, 120, 74 degrees intake. Not a lot wrong with that setup. So we'll get this pulled out, split it, I'll show you what the cylinder looks like. Take the bottom bolts out now. So we do have to pull the flywheel. Alright, so we did have to pull the flywheel off. The way that it fits in here, just molded a little too close. Looks like we got an actual flywheel key. That'll come in handy if we advance it. Here's the case. Here's what's left over of it. Not a bad looking case. And here is our cylinder. Pull this plug out. There's the impulse hose, goes right through that. Two-piece holder for the boot. Here's what we got. Exhaust port, transfers, there's the intake. This is a strato setup. These two bolts here on the bottom hold the actual cylinder on. Unbolt this intake boot real quick. There's the other side of the boot. Alright, now we'll split it. Looks like we got some gray gasket maker on there. And there is our piston. Single ring. Extra lightning cutouts. Crank looks pretty solid. Set that there. You can see that's the notch we're talking about right there. Top of that notch is 105. The other half of it, it's like 113. Fed right down there from the lower. Comes up the transfer, so that's pretty tight down there. We might have to do something. And you can kind of see that plate's restricted now. Like I said, this has got a lot of interesting things going on, but that's what they have to do. Alright, so we got this cylinder all ported up now. I got to finish cleaning it up yet, but we opened up the lowers, raised, widened the exhaust, and we opened up these transfer caps. Didn't bother taking these caps off. Whatever they use to stick these on is some very tough stuff. A lot of times you can tweak these caps, bend them, break them. I'm sure there's more opening up, blending, flowing you can do if you take them off, but I don't choose to take them off. I'd rather have them stuck on there, bolt secure, everything else. Said you try prying this stuff off. You can bend them, you can tweak them, you can break them. Just not worth it for me on this project. But open up the lowers, ground out the transfer caps at the uppers, and raised and widened the exhaust. Kept the intake the same, 74. Exhaust raised up to 105, and we raised the transfers to 120. You see, we opened up the lowers pretty good. Just blended the uppers to the factory opening. Blended the exhaust to the factory opening. And widened it out. Didn't do much on the outside. But we'll get this all cleaned up and put back on. I'll show you the piston. Basically open the lowers to match this cutout. These are just lightning notches. So hopefully we can do something with it. I didn't really want to gut it. I still wanted to keep the straddle mostly intact, so the piston should still seal off. But we'll see how it does. Alright, so that part's done. Now we can get it set back in the chassis. Maybe. No, we can't yet either. Let's put our intake and stuff back on it first. Then we can set it back in the chassis. Well, so unless you're going to weld up a pop-up on the piston, the squish is what it is. Being a strato saw, there's not a whole lot of pistons you can swap in there. That would work. At the end of the day, we got to remember we are messing with a cheaper farm and ranch style saw. So we're just going to see what gains we can get doing what any of you can do with a Dremel, and especially if you have a right angle piece. But if you choose to remove those transfer caps, you can do all the work I did with just a straight Dremel. Alright, so we got the carb limiters out. Pretty substantial pieces there. But what I had to do, grind a little relief here, a little relief there, to where I could grab this piece with a pair of needle nose, pull that piece out, and then I could grab each one of these, pull those out. So that's how we did that. Alright, this piece goes over the air filter, and it's blocking off kind of our straight path of flow. Looks like it's supposed to help swirl it around something, but we're going to leave that piece out just for now. If this thing gets caked up, just super spit back or something, we can always put it back on. But for now, we're not going to bother with it. Alright, we'll finish the oil pump side. Put our washer on. Worm gear. Oil pump drive. Centers that worm. 3/8. There we go. Spacer washer. And the clutch. Alright, not going to lose none of those pieces anymore. But this kind of nice, they did switch to the spring anti-vibe. I know that was some people's big complaint, was they were still the rubber on the old ones. There's our filter cover. Toolless on that. Let me go grab the muffler. We'll bolt that on. Alright, here's the muffler mod we went with. You see these are an open can. Normally a screen under the factory hole. But we added a small deflector to the side here. And a nice size hole underneath. Gave it a quick coat of paint. Now we'll bolt it on. Alright, we'll put this side cover on so we can fire it up. Put a little spacer under there. That way we can trip the brake and set the clutch. Spins, brake. Add our fuel and see if we added a little bit more attitude to it. We got it all filled up. There you can see our muffler mod all installed. No screen. Fire it off. Then trip the brake a few times, set the clutch on, then we'll put on the dyno. But let's see if she sounds any better. There's pop. Definitely has a better sound to it. So we'll get strapped on the dyno and see if we made any more power. Definitely sounds better, snappier. Since I didn't actually hold it, since it's on the dyno, I didn't really feel it. But the spring anti-vibe should definitely be a good upgrade over the 4910s. And as you see from the graphs, we actually made some pretty decent power out of this. So if you're in the market for one of these, this one will probably be for sale on the website, worksaws.com. But if you're in the market, this may be actually worth looking into. But we'll go to the graphs, see what kind of power I actually made. We'll compare it to one of our normal 4910 type builds. And let me know what you guys think. Alright, here's the results for the ported 4920. I was actually really surprised how well this one did. We got stock run down here in red, 3.51 horse, 2.62 foot-pounds. And we bumped it up all the way to just over 5 horse, 5.04 horse, 3.15 foot-pounds. So we gained some torque and we gained some horsepower. And like I said, that was just going to basically where the ports were. Had that goofy split duration exhaust port. We took it up to the higher duration, right at 105 exhaust, wind it up, and we blended the transfer caps into the factory casting. So took the transfer ports where they wanted to be, took the exhaust where it wanted to be, and we were rewarded with a pretty healthy bump in power. This is up about 43% over the stock run. Spring anti-vibe, 43% more power. This isn't too far off from 550. Overall, I'm super happy with the way this turned out. It does seem to have a limited coil. 12.2, 12.3 is about all it'll spin up. And that's probably due to being a clamshell. These are not as robust of a design. You start spinning all sorts of RPM, those pans, the bolts have to catch that bearing wanting to go down and wanting to go up. So it makes sense to limit the RPM, but we didn't limit the power. We'll go back. This is super close to where most of my normal 4910s come. So we'll compare this ported to ported. Be back. Alright, here we have ported 4920 and ported 4910. Ported 4910, like I said, most of mine end up in this 5.1 to 5.3 range. Super similar curve to this. So I just picked a generic one. We got 5.1 horse and 3.25 foot-pounds. See? Add a little bit more torque, a little bit more power all the way over the whole range. But that's possible. We can add a little bit extra compression to bump up that low end. And we can spin the 4910 501 a bit higher to raise the top end. But since they're getting rid of our beloved 4910s, we've got this clamshell alternative, and it'll be good to know how long they actually hold up. But good fuel, good oil, sharp chain, take care of it. It really should hold up for a while. And just in case anybody forgot, I will be selling this 4920. So that'll be listed on the website, worksaws.com. I'll put a link in the description. But you can see, super similar to where we end up with the ported 4910s. 4920s are more work. And it's just the way it goes sometimes. So hopefully you enjoy this. I know I had fun porting the 4920. And let me know what you guys think. Alright, thanks a lot everyone.